They have taken you from the Imperial City's prison. First by carriage and now by boat.
To tour Vvardenfell and assess its urban planning. This is recording, that's recording, awesome. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to a new video series about video game urban planning. I, on behalf of the Video Game Urban Planning Division, will be sent to various cities in various video games, starting with Morrowind, to assess the urban planning of each of them. So, any questions that you might have, such as, how walkable is Vivek? In case of Vvardenfell, how engaged are the residents of Alderaan in their community? How accessible is Balmora's public transportation? These are all the questions that we are going to be exploring and more in this video series, so I hope you stick around. Should be interesting, at least for me. Today, we are going to Balmora. Of course, I had to start with Balmora. How could I not? It's, I think, the first, proper city I ever visited in Vvardenfell. And, yeah, it's probably the one I've spent the most time in over the years. That being said, I will try to be as objective as possible in my analysis, not to worry. Speaking of objective analysis, let's talk about how we're going to assess these cities. So first, what we ultimately want to know is when we're looking at these towns and cities is how well does this town serve its population, right? It's all about that. It's all about the people. So of course this is a complex question to answer. So we're going to attempt to do that by breaking down our assessment into different categories. These are going to be mobility, engagement, and diversity. So what does mobility mean? Mobility basically covers all things getting around. That's public transportation options, walkability, and accessibility. These are all going to be covered in that section. Engagement is how do the residents feel about their city? What might tourists feel about the city? We'll be considering community buy-in, memorability factor, again, for people visiting, like how iconic is the city, does it have its own personality? And then we're also going to think about the availability of third places, which are places that aren't home or work, that people can sort of socialize in and exist in. And then finally, so that was mobility and engagement, finally we have diversity. There are many types of diversity, obviously, that can be measured, or could be tried to be measured. But we are going to be thinking about zoning diversity, housing diversity, and I thought about doing employment opportunities. I'm not sure how that's going to pan out. We might not do that. Each of these metrics will be assigned a grade of A through D, and that is going to represent the results for that location. So the three letters for mobility, engagement, and diversity for that city will be the results. We will be traveling, as I said, to these cities in person. I'll have a camera with me on the ground. We're gonna spend a lot of time there to make sure that we kind of get a feel for the city. It's gonna be a good time. This is going to be a long business trip for me, so any likes and subscribes and comments are gonna be much appreciated. That helps our budget for travel and other things. But yeah, this is going to be a refreshing change of pace from my usually sedentary desk job of being an urban planner that exists and lives inside of video games and is also not a real urban planner, which leads us to the disclaimers. While I do make an effort to be informed and I am passionate about this topic, I'm not a professional. Keep that in mind. I have no formal education yet in urban planning, and I'd also like to mention these kind of longer disclaimers here. I think I'll just put them up on the screen. So, before we go to Balmora, I'd like to just share some basic facts about the city before we go. So Balmora is a large Hlalu city with a population of 93 as of 2023, I believe. It is located in the West Gash region of Vvardenfell, and it is bisected by the Odai River. We're going to be staying at the Council Club, which is directly across the street from the Silverstein, so that'll be convenient. Also, the version of Morrowind that I am using is Open Morrowind, but without any additional mods. I thought about doing just straight up vanilla, but Open Morrowind just looks better, so that's what I'm going to do. But, I tried to double check that the buildings are more or less the same, etc., so it should be, pretty much the same. Okay, so I'm going to go pack my bags, and I will see you there. Okay, so this is where we're going to be staying for the duration of our assessment of Balmora. Nice room. Okay, so mobility. I believe Balmora has two main transportation options. The first one, well, the one that we're standing closest to, is the Mages Guild teleportation service. Let's go see what kinds of destinations are offered there. Yeah, where can you take me? And that's the thing with the Mages Guild transportations, is they can only take you to other Mages Guilds, so that town must necessarily be a little bit larger in order to support a Mages Guild, I believe. But we'll write this down. This is, let's see, can I count? 4 destinations. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, and the other main sort of public, I suppose, transportation option is the beautiful, majestic Silverstein service. Hello.
Where would you like to go?
Well, let's see what you can do. Alderun Suran Vivek Sadanin. That is 4. Relative to what else I've seen in Vvardenfell, I think that's a very just kind of standard, healthy amount. And of course you can walk away from Balmora. You can take these roads, and just judging by memory, I would say that they are pretty well marked. That's it for transportation. Let's move on to walkability. So this is going to be a bigger one. How easy and how pleasant do we think it is to be a pedestrian getting things done in Balmora? I think the first thing that we'll do is measure how long it takes to walk from end to end of the city. Excuse me. Nope, I don't, well, I'm not that famous of an urban planner. Let's walk end to end and time it. It's kind of weird that I'm doing this at night, right? Maybe I should have, gone to bed, woken up in the morning like a normal person, and done this then. End. Okay, so that was that. I'm gonna put a timer up later in post, but I believe that was under 2 minutes. Great, really fantastic. Like a 1-minute walk, so people should have no trouble getting around. And again, in general, the cities in Vvardenfell I expect to do well in terms of walkability, just because there is no sort of infrastructure for a vehicle or, sort of method of getting around that isn't walking. One thing that I want to say right off the bat is I find Balmora to be a particularly engaging city to walk around in. I just find it really easy to kind of space out and just go on walks here. Maybe I'm talking to somebody else and I'm just kind of here, and I just find myself walking and walking everywhere, and it's kind of always sort of stimulating for me. So when we think about how engaging it is to walk around in Balmora, I think that a main component is the shapes of the streets, the lengths of the streets, and the different height levels. I can't think of what else that would be called right now. It's 2 a.m, so yeah, again, forgive me, maybe I shouldn't be doing this right now, but Balmora has 3 distinct levels.
Come on then, say something or move on.
Okay, well, I'm just here to observe, I'm sorry. I'll get out of the way a little bit. So, it explains that when people walk to a certain destination, they have sort of miniature destinations in between. So let's say I want to walk to the Fine Clother from here, the waterfront, right? So, I can't see the Fine Clother, but I know where she is. Our first goal is basically the courtyard, right? So we just kind of walk there. And it's kind of like all of these kind of straightish lines that connect into a snaking pattern. And now I'm here in the courtyard. Now I want to go to the stairs. So I kind of reset for the stairs. I go up these stairs. Excuse me. Still can't see her, but my brain kind of locks onto this point. And, well, and then like, oh, now we walk to this courtyard. Ah, nice courtyard. Ah, now we walk to her, because she's over here. And you kind of have this sort of snaking motion between buildings, but more importantly, this sort of motion between interesting points. So you shouldn't just like have one really long straight line with nothing engaging in the middle of it. It's nice to have sort of interesting things to see along the way, interesting things to get maybe sidetracked by. That makes a walk way more pleasant. We don't want a monotonous walk. We don't want it to be, like, curving for no reason, because people do want to be efficient, right? You want to, like, find the shortest path, right? I'm not going to walk in a weird way over there. I'm going to walk right, diagonally towards the clother. But the walks should be engaging, the paths shouldn't be too long, and I think Balmora does a really nice job of sort of having shorter streets that connect in interesting ways, and at interesting angles, and at interesting elevations. That was the word I was looking for. The walk is not monotonous, it's dynamic. That's what I'm getting at. Balmora really does have a great combination of kind of distant sightlines, like being able to see far into the distance, and sort of short blocked perspectives. These arches also allow a cool effect where you can kind of be in this sort of cozy roof situation like a cave, and then it opens up. The streets also have a definite shape, which is great. This is another thing that you can see in the book of pattern language. It talks about positive outdoor space as opposed to negative outdoor space. So essentially the shape of it is a definite shape that like you could draw out nicely, as opposed to negative space, which is leftover space. And that, according to the authors of this book, those tend to be shunned. Those are less comfortable for people to be in. We like to feel more like we're in a room. And I think Balmora does a pretty good job of that. So we're going to take a look at the map in a minute here. I think that we will see that they're going to be sort of complementary equivalent shapes. And I like the shape of the courtyard. It's not just like some square or something kind of arbitrary. It feels organic. You know, it feels like the shapes of the architecture. You know, it's got that curve like we see in the roofs here. The room-like quality of the streets, the way they kind of funnel you into this courtyard that bulges out is nice. It's you can be walking here and then notice this and you're like, ooh, what's over there? It looks rather enticing, doesn't it? And then you can go down here and it's like, ooh, what's around the corner? I can't see. Oh, interesting. Oh, and then you get this beautiful view all the way down there, and you could keep going. Oh, or you could turn here. Oh, or go back up there. And you're like, oh wow, I didn't realize this archway was here. Oh, so those connect, and you can kind of have that nice little moment. It's just great to walk around in. And it's good to walk around here because I have to be here all the time. As opposed to, I'm not going to talk too much about Vivek right now. But I will just say that when I know I have to run errands in Vivek, I have a very different emotional response to when I have to run errands in Balmora. Let's just say that. The other nice thing about elevation that I just remembered is that people like, in general, to climb to higher elevations. You can kind of get a lay of the land, and that's appealing. Just about every house, I think, has rooftop access. So there are plenty of opportunities within the structures of Balmora to get a nice bird's eye view of the city, which helps people contextualize where they are. See, look, there she goes right now. There she goes. Look at this. What a great view. What a great view this is. And since we're on a roof, we can't not talk a little bit about parkour. Am I right? I mean, Balmora is the best place to do parkour in all of Vvardenfell as far as I'm concerned. Alright, I don't want to show off too much, but check this out. Come on. Well, at least I got on top of a crate, right? By the way, these walls are also fantastic. Very enticing. You don't ever see people walking on these. I walk on them in secret, but I bet people do. I will say that another nice thing about the different elevations in Balmora is the fact that these buildings generally aren't built very tall. These kinds of towers are usually the highest ones you get, but because of the different elevation of the city, you still get that fun, like, different roofline variation, as opposed to just a flat landscape of all the same. Can you think about how boring that would be if Balmora was just like this? Let's enjoy some parkour for a second. Get some exercise. Shit. How safe does it feel to walk around Balmora? And again, we don't really have anything like cars or any other kind of high-speed, different paced or dangerous, vehicle or animal that we need to worry about here. Everyone's walking, so that's already a great sort of worry off of our minds in terms of walking safety. We saw a little bit of the lighting last night. Right now it is 4 p.m. Wow, it's been a long day. I think that I'm going to have a nap and then come back when it's fully dark so that we can really see the lighting and think about how it might affect us walking at night in terms of how safe we feel. Okay, it is now 9 p.m. and the lights are on. Let's see what we think. So, first of all, a lot of lighting in this sort of central courtyard area, which is great. I like that there's lighting here too. For example, it's not really a shop, but it's still lit up nicely to facilitate you walking to the shops. Not much lighting here on the steps. Lots of lights here. Hey, so I just wanted to pop in here because I didn't say anything about light pollution. So after filming in Balmora, I went and read some articles about urban light design, and I thought they were really interesting. So I'll include a link in my references along with everything else. But basically, light pollution is a serious issue, and there are ways of lighting outdoor space that minimize the negative impact of lighting while also maintaining the safety benefits. When it comes to Balmora, the lights don't seem to create much glare. They're not particularly bright, and they're also quite a warm color. So given all of that, my amateur opinion is that these lights are probably not disruptive to people, and if anything, we probably need a bit more of them. That's it. Okay, thanks, bye. Okay, so I'm noticing that there is no lighting in these alleys. No lighting at all. And I want to talk a little bit about these alleys, actually. Alleys are usually like access points, right, that are off of the main street. And that means that you can kind of get goods or furniture or whatever it is in and out of buildings without disrupting normal traffic. But these alleys have no doors and no windows. So functionally, they're just kind of hidden places where you can steal from, which is awesome. But yeah, honestly, safety-wise, these alleys do kind of make me feel unsafe. There are no windows, which are usually a pretty big factor in like a city's safety, right? You can't like call for help easily, no one can see you. It's just an isolated location without any lighting. And we do know that there is a Thieves Guild presence in town. Just saying. This is a dark, sort of abyss-like sort of belt that you have to cross through to get to the lower class residential district of Balmora. And it's important, again, that lights and infrastructure connect places together. If you have individual little focal points, then kind of what's the point? Because people need to be moving between points. While it's still night and while we're on the topic of lights, we're just going to sort of transition right into talking about accessibility. A lot of things that can make a space accessible to those with disabilities also are quality of life improvements for people without disabilities. And lighting is an example of that. If you have a vision disability, from what I've read, yeah, it's good to have well-lit areas. Helps you see. It makes you feel safe, like with most people. So again, also from that standpoint, more lights, especially along the waterfront. And we're going to talk about the water here in terms of accessibility in a second. Now that we've talked about lighting, I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to wake up in the morning, and after breakfast, we will discuss. Do you sell breakfast? Rat meat. I love the sound of purchasing things. Oh shit, did that damage me? It damaged my magicka. Okay, let's discuss accessibility. Point 3 for mobility. First thing I want to note, a lot of stairs and not a lot of ramps. And I was thinking about this in terms of wheelchairs the other day, because like I've never seen a wheelchair in Morrowind, but there is that last Dwemer guy with spider legs. So I was thinking like, oh, what if people that need like, you know, that level of like walking aids, like they need a wheelchair, what if in Morrowind they had something more like what that guy has? But then I remembered like he's a Dwemer and it's like ancient technology and they probably don't have that. So for our purposes, I'm just going to assume that I guess they would just use wheelchairs. I've never seen anyone else in Morrowind that needs walking mobility aids, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist. They might just not feel like it's the world might be too hostile for them. They might just stay at home all the time, which is really sad. And that's why we need to assess these things and provide some extra data and perspective so these cities can be made to be more welcoming. I'm seeing stairs here. and there. Notice that this is a critical corridor for getting to the shopping district from the residential district. So in between where anyone's living and the shops, you need to go up and down stairs. Also, the bridges have stairs. Another thing I want to note is this curb. On the one hand, it's kind of nice because it alerts you that the river is coming up. So if you're like, oh, I don't want to fall in the river, you can bump up against this and realize that it might be coming up soon. That's something. On the other hand, I think it's a pretty big curb if you look at it. Let's look at this guy handle this curb. No, oh, there we go. Yeah, it's a pretty big step down. On the one hand, it alerts you to the river, but on the other hand, I worry that you could, like, kind of trip and you would fall a little bit, maybe too close to the danger zone for my liking. But honestly, put a rail up, right? Put a rail up. The lack of lighting and the lack of sort of guardrails around the river is a little bit alarming. I was trying to read up on urban planning for people with vision disabilities. One thing that was mentioned was utilizing sort of high contrast markings and colors in a city. And I have noticed that Balmora is exceptionally monochromatic. It's incredibly bland. Even the Silverstein is the same color as the buildings. The sky, honestly, is the same color as the buildings sometimes. If you've got kind of low vision or something like that, and you rely on high contrast to sort of figure out where the edges of things are and where you're going, Balmora, it seems like it could be pretty hostile. Correct me if I'm wrong. Again, I might have said this at the beginning, but, you know, I'm trying to get better at seeing things from this perspective of accessibility, and so please let me know if I get something wrong or if there's more things that I need to be aware of, because I definitely want to get better at this. Yeah, not liking it in terms of accessibility so far. The lighting is, you know, okay. I would like more lighting in the connecting areas, in the alleyway, on the bridge. I mean, of course, there's like a lack of braille. We're not going to find that anywhere in Morrowind, but it is, you know, I should say it. I guess it's worth saying that, yeah, the signs are all visual. I also read that in urban areas, if you've got, you know, no or low vision, one aspect in which it's difficult is that you can just run into objects, run into outdoor cafes, open signs, debris, feces, etc. You can just, you know, walk into these things. And I will say that Balmora, it's kind of a downgrade in terms of city vibrancy. Like, I would like to see more like outdoor cafes, more maybe street vendors, bring a little liveliness outside. That would be nice. However, since we don't have those, we don't really need to discuss much about clearing out obstacles or making nice boundaries of where the obstacles begin and end for people that might have trouble seeing those things. I will note that the obstacles that are out and about are kind of out of the way, I think, maybe with the exception of these boxes up here by the mages and fighters guilds. These are kind of in the way, I think. This is kind of narrow, but on the whole, I don't see a lot of outdoor objects that move frequently and are hard to predict. I think once you just get used to living here, you'll just know that these boxes are here, and as far as I know, they never ever move, and the open signs are above the ground. You can't run into them, so that's nice. Great, yeah. Let me know what I missed about that. I'm going to give my mobility summary here. Mobility is a big one, so thanks for sticking through this. In terms of transit, in terms of transportation, it's well connected, I think. Just good standard city connections as far as Vvardenfell is concerned. The only thing it doesn't have is a boat. It's all sort of land-based transportation, but that's okay. In terms of walkability, I think it does pretty well. It is, I think, particularly engaging to walk in Balmora. It's a very pleasant experience. It's also fast. You can cross the whole city in about a minute, I think. In terms of accessibility, Balmora, I think, did pretty badly. Put up some kind of ramps. Also, I forgot to mention this earlier, I think, but the Silverstein, you need steps to take the Silverstein. So how do you even get out of town? And yeah, so that does it for mobility. So what grade am I going to give it? This gets a rating of B. Wow, we are seeing a lot of this city today, aren't we, folks? So, back in Balmora. Energy, energy, energy. So, the energy of a city is important, right? The subcategories that I have for it are community buy-in, meaning how engaged are the residents? How proud are the residents of the city? How much do they know about their city? Are they just, like, trying to leave and, like, are they totally ambivalent about it? Or do they feel negatively about it? How are they doing? So, community buy-in. So, let's talk to people. How do they feel about Balmora? Excuse me, ma'am. Ma'am. Hello? Thank you. She's really friendly. Welcome to Balmora. How can I serve you? Wow, very professional. Balmora. What do you have to say about Balmora? Council seat of the Great House Hlalu, largest town in Vvardenfell except for Vivek. Located on the Odai River. That's something that they think of right away, is its kind of riverfront. It's an important mercantile trade and travel center. Latest rumors. I heard the East Empire Company was fed up with House Hlalu and we're looking for another source of ebony. Okay, so that's not really rumors about the town per se. Something else is on her mind. Little advice. If you kill yourself trying to complete a job that's too difficult for you, it's nobody's fault but your own. Little secret. Wow, someone attacks you. First you have the right to defend yourself. Okay, I wonder if violence happens frequently here. Morrowind lore. Okay, some sort of ethnic demographics. Specific place. Balmora is a big town. Think in terms of districts. High town on the hill to the west has the temple, Hlalu Council Hall, rich manors, better shops, Morag Tong, commercial district, and we have the labor town. Talks about where the roads go to, where you can reach on via road. Talks about the Silverstein service. Wow. She knows about her town. Okay, so she's really well informed. I think it seems like I don't know. To me, this feels like engagement. It feels like she knows her town, she knows it really well, and she feels very confident to educate newcomers. What if, okay. No, I didn't mean it like that. I just meant maybe if we were better friends, then you would say more about Balmora, but that's fine. Similar thing, little secret. Oh, what? Fort Moonmoth is looking for me? Interesting. Does he have urban planning questions? I think that we're going to find the citizens of Balmora are pretty engaged. What about you, sir?
Speak quickly.
Oh, ma'am, maybe. Sorry, Captain. I don't mean to be so, gender binary here with my formal language. This is Balmora. I don't believe we've met. There's something I can do for you. Wow, so nice. Okay, you also know... Yeah, wow. Everyone is really well informed here. This is great. So I'm just gonna call it, in terms of community buy-in, I feel like people are bought in. They're proud that it's a large city. They're proud that it is important in terms of mercantile. They know where everything is. They know the bigwigs in town. Cool. Now, sense of identity / uniqueness. I would say that is also covered by what we discussed, because they identified it as the second biggest city, important for mercantile trade. I think they said it's the home of Great House Hlalu. Is that true? Could you elucidate that for me? Council seat of Great House Hlalu, located on the Odai River. That's true as well. I think it's one of the only river towns in Vvardenfell. Given how well connected Balmora is, how important it is politically and commercially, what with the engaging pedestrian experience and the central river, I would say that Balmora is pretty iconic. Let's think about third places. Does Balmora offer its residents variety of third places? That's what we want to be asking ourselves. So, right off the bat, I feel like I've said that phrase a lot today, but just by virtue of not being a car-centric city, it's kind of, I would say, already reclaiming a lot of third place-ness, if that makes sense. The entire sort of outdoor space connecting the city invites people to be walking and running into each other, sitting comfortably on stairs and front stoops and porches. It invites connection in a way that a noisy, dangerous, non-pedestrian infrastructure can't do as well. However, all of the towns here in Vvardenfell will have that in common because there are no cars. So, in addition to that, I would like to point out that yes, there are a lot of stoops, nice places to sit like this. I would count this plaza as the third place. I don't know, it doesn't seem like a particularly easy place to spend a lot of time sitting in. Maybe it's too big, maybe, there's only ever 2 people here. Doesn't exactly make it feel bustling or like fun to watch. But I do end up here all the time on my walks, naturally. So maybe it's a good plaza, maybe it's a good third place. One resource I read did mention that they considered bookshops to count. We've got one of those right here. Doesn't look particularly easy to just sit and chat for hours, especially with this guard right here. That's not... Yeah. No, I'm not getting third place vibes from this. This is very, look, she's not even sitting down. She's, in full customer service mode. There's only 2 chairs. There's a guard just staring at you the whole time. No. No. 8 plates. I believe this is a tavern? Oh, cute. Oh, yes. Yes. There's, no one tending the bar, which is interesting. Maybe, people serve themselves. That's kind of cool. That's very third place vibes, I feel like. You describe yourself as lovable, yet some people get upset with you. That's shocking. Publican of the 8 plates here in Balmora. We rent beds. And... cool. And you've got food. This is great. Totally third place vibes. Love it. Honestly, maybe I should have stayed here for this trip. Next stop. The temple, which we have not visited yet. I'm inclined to think that religious buildings such as this often do count as third places. Got some nice beds here. I have used these beds on occasion, on hard times. I don't really know the temple culture here, but I'm just gonna go ahead and count it as a third place anyway. Another plaza! Yep, I would count this as a third place as well. We have a lot of nice stoops and stairs all kind of facing each other. Again, given that it's kind of out of the way and everything up here is kind of aristocratic, I don't imagine it's a particularly diverse third place relative to the other plaza down below. However, I'm still gonna count it. I don't know, guilds potentially for lay members. Those might not count as work. For someone who doesn't take them seriously, it could just be a club situation, which would count potentially as a third place. We have a couple more bars/inns here to check on. What's this? Lucky Lockup. Totally. Ooh, they've got music?
You have something to say to me?
This is super cute. It's like a potluck kind of vibe. And then this is where I'm staying, the council club. Oh, this is cute. I like that. The table right there. Yep, love this. Yeah, Balmora has a plethora of sort of bars/inns. Let's check out the Thieves Guild. Yeah, Southwell Corner Club, another similar building. This one is filled with thieves. I am not sure how welcoming this is to non-members. Well, I mean, you're acting nice. Yeah, I mean, even though I'm not a thief, they seem kind of chill. I don't know. Plenty of clubs, plenty of places to gather. I would say the types of third places aren't, super diverse. It's not like we have a sports arena of any kind at our disposal. But, we have a temple. We've got several clubs. And we have some cute general stores. And we have a lot of steps to sit on. And several plazas. And the waterfront here, honestly, is kind of like a third place. So, yeah. Feeling pretty good about it, to be honest. This gets a rating of A. Diversity. When I talk about diversity in Balmora, I am thinking about mixed uses. That is, are the purposes of buildings and locations mixed? right? Do we have an intermingling of residential and commercial, for example? And we're also going to be talking about the diversity of housing. Do we have buildings of different ages next to each other? Do we have different durations of lodging available? For example, like it's not great if you only have Airbnbs, right? You also want permanent residences. So do we have a variety of different housing for different types of people with different needs, different incomes, different family sizes? First of all, I don't see a way to determine whether any buildings are newer or older than others here. I'm also not an expert on buildings. I don't really know anything about architecture, but these all look the same to me. So we're just going to assume they're the same age. For duration of stays, well, we know we have hotels. That's something. I think that let's go look in the kind of the labor section of town. Lower class residential over here. It's a little bit hard to determine the size of them, so I'm going to kind of break into them. You have a lot of pillows. I hope you don't have rats living in them. Small house, to be honest. This is a small house. Okay, there are rats here. Do you want them to be there? Should I kill it? I'm not gonna. Maybe it's her pet. So, a very modest home. A modest, cozy home. Let's see if we can get into this building. Whoopsies. We sure can. Okay, a little bit bigger. Different style. A different layout, rather. Double bed. Cool. I'm already liking the diversity here. Oh, shit. Yeah, this is in my budget, by the way. How about this house? Okay. Another modest home and a different layout. I enjoy it. A lot of these, I like that no matter how small the houses are, they always include an outdoor sort of rooftop space. It seems like, more or less. Let's check on this. Now, if I remember correctly, let's see, Rarain Radira's house. And up here, I think this might be a duplex, if I'm being honest. Balin Omerel's house. Yeah, 2 different names associated with this house, which means this is like a duplex, which I love in terms of housing diversity. That's really cool. So again, I think that we are catering to different sort of family sizes, probably renting versus buying. You know, maybe students could live in here, right? And then like you could have a couple living in that one with a double bed. Maybe they have a small family, right? That's a guard tower, I think. So I'm liking that. Not all the houses are the same. You've got different ones catering to different people. Nine Toes house. See, and look, and this is a bigger house with an upper floor. We know that they have manors up in Hightown. We can go maybe, well, I guess we won't. That's not really our job here, just to look inside of them. We just wanted to look inside to validate that the buildings are sort of potentially catering to different markets of people. Cool. I can see those having a variety of different price points. I bet some of them are renting. I bet some of them are buying. I'm just going to assume that that's the case. Wow, it's dark. We should go to bed. Oh, gorgeous. Finally, a sunny day. Good morning. I got really tired last night looking at housing, and so I just kind of went to bed and stopped filming. So, last but not least, certainly not least, we're going to be talking about zoning, kind of. Oh my god, it's gorgeous. Oh my god, I fell down. This is supposed to be a city, even though it's got like a handful of people in it and a handful of buildings. It's more of a town, however, it's supposed to be a city. Generally speaking, we want many different building purposes to intermingle. That creates a lot of different people at all different times of day crossing paths, and that generates energy, which attracts more people, which makes places generally safer because there's more eyes on the street, and it's more interesting because what do people love to do? They love to people watch, right? So it's stimulating and healthy for a city to have things mixed around. And also, if you've got residential mixed in with commercial, that just makes things more convenient. There's incredible benefits to it. It's a complex topic, and we're hoping to find some diversity here. Oh, I forgot to note in my housing section, though, there is not much class diversity in terms of the intermingling of houses. The rich people live up here, the poor people live down there. That seems to be the case. That seems to be what everyone has been telling me when they're talking about districts. So that's not great. You want to see young people, old people, poor people, rich people living next to each other. Again, it's tricky. These things depend on a town and how they're being used. I can't really tell how this place is being used because these people aren't, simulated. It's not a real town, so it's hard to assess how it's functioning. Hello, it is me from the future and, from the past for you and for me. Since visiting Balmora, I've put together a zoning map, a very rudimentary, simple zoning map, and so let's see what this clarifies for us here. As you can see, I've divided it into commercial, mixed, residential, and municipal zones. Some of the buildings were kind of tricky. Ultimately, I decided to make the temple commercial. After doing a little bit of Googling, I decided to do that, and then I also decided to make the sort of political bodies like the Hlalu Manor. I also made commercial. Those things I was not quite sure about, but yep, that's what I went with. The blue buildings that you see here are guard towers, which I just called municipal at random. On the right-hand side of the river from this perspective, as we already knew, that's like almost completely residential. The activity on either side of the river is quite different. Again, we already knew that. But looking at the colors on the left-hand side of the river, the sort of commercial and high-end districts, that's kind of a nice blending of colors to me. I don't know. I think there's a kind of some, I don't know, diversity going on. Yeah, so as for we'll just call it the left-hand side of the river, I like the amount of mixed zoning there is. You've got sort of mixed commercial, residential, and municipal buildings kind of scattered throughout. So honestly, sort of the biggest kind of lack of diversity, I suppose, in Balmora is, I would say, class diversity. The poorer folks are clearly pushed out into the kind of the not so cool side of the river, and the happening parts of Balmora are kind of taken up by the wealthy. It's tricky because I don't actually know what I'm talking about. So that does make this assessment of the zoning a little bit harder, but I like the quantity of mixed-use zoning on the left-hand side of the river. I like that you do have some residential, including along the river some more kind of middle lower class buildings there as well, right next to a shopping district. Yeah, I'm feeling decently good about this. I feel like it's kind of medium good. This gets a rating of B-. Okay, wow, this has been, a long business trip. But it's been great. Gorgeous Balmora. It's always a pleasure coming to visit. You can buy just about anything you want here. The corner club where I stayed at was small but incredibly cozy. I am going to take the weekend and then make my way to the next town to assess. Thanks for coming along. So, Balmora. Please forgive my unprofessional attire. It is a weekend right now while I'm recording this. So, Balmora, we ended up giving it a rating of B for the category of mobility, A for the category of energy, and B- for diversity. Overall, good. I like Balmora. It's no secret, and I think these ratings reflect that. It's not perfect, that's for sure. But what place is this? Is just a sort of subjective approximation. Yeah, let me think if there's any closing thoughts here. Thank you for watching. Please do subscribe for the next episode. Please let me know what other towns or video games you want me to explore in this series, and let me know if you disagree on any of the points or any of the ratings that I gave. That would be interesting to read. The idea for this video series was inspired by both Annie Austin and his excellent employment survey videos, as well as Angel Akatosh's videos, which are also excellent, and you should check both of them out, although they are much more famous than me. Okay, so thanks.